going
Hey
on, guys?
Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Good. We'll just get right into it here. So me and you share similar viewpoints on the play of Oliver Wahlstrom. Just take us through what you've seen about his play, at least over the last couple of games.
I think we're seeing his confidence grow. I like the way that he's getting into the mix. He's not afraid to throw his body around. I'm of course I'm impressed with his shot. I just like his overall game. I think he's really starting to come into his own. I keep saying that the points will come, the points will come, the points will, and they're going to. I think could it maybe happen if he got a promotion up to the top six, maybe. But I think he's starting to find himself in that third line with JG Pageau and whoever the other winger is. But no, I really like what I've seen from him so far, and I think the Islanders have a player here.
So I mean, before Brendan gets to his point, Wallstrom's on the power play, and we see what it leads to the game-winning goal by Pageau.
Mm-hmm.
How much, that shows a lot of trust that Trotz has in his player to put him on special teams. Again, every game it seems like he's playing more, but to be on the power play and to come through in a big moment there, that's a major confidence booster.
Oh, definitely. That shot placement, perfect. That's what you want to see from the Islanders power play. And the fact now that they have another shooter outside of Ryan Pulak and Wallstrom is that guy, that's that's a major boost. And I think, everyone can complain about the offense and everything, but, you know, there are pieces in place, and Wallstrom is supposed to be one of them. It's going to happen for him. It's just when the goals come, the goals are going to come. It's just like that with the Islanders of the team. When the goals come, they do. And when they don't, it's, you want to bang your head against the wall.
Yeah, we see the same exact thing in New York with the Rangers too, right? I mean, you got these guys that are getting chances, just not finishing right now. So they will come for Wallstrom, for Lafreniere, all these younger players that are trying to find their way. But
I would give Lafreniere a little bit of was called a reprieve because he is a first year guy and there's a lot of expectations and
a ton.
It's a lot to handle for just look at Jack Hughes last year. I know it was a little bit of a different situation, but I mean, you're a number one pick. The expectations are going to be sky high, but you got to take him in stride. I think that Lafreniere has done that. He'll get it. He'll find his game soon.
He will. I think that the Rangers fans that are calling him a bust already are a little premature in that. But what do you make of the defensive zone mistakes that the Islanders have made this season? Because it's really uncharacteristic of this club, especially under Barry Trotz.
I think it's just a matter of having confidence in their play. And when you see the defensive zone breakdowns, it's when the Islanders know that they are having trouble playing confidently in their own zone, which has been really not seen for the past 2 years. But you're right, it is uncharacteristic. A lot of them have been pretty tough to watch, but it's going to come with the territory of wanting to be an ultra sound defensive team. I mean, I think what's happened this year is teams after a while they know your weaknesses and they expose them. The Islanders haven't had that type of weakness, but now teams have seen them for so long and they know how to game plan against them. But I think it's just more comes down to having confidence in their own zone. And I know watching them sometimes with the way they try and get the puck out and the failed miss attempts, it's terrible. It's really it makes you scratch your head that this is the kind of team that is so good defensively, but they can't get the puck out of their own zone. Got to be smarter. Got to make harder plays. Got to do more of the little things the right way. And I think that's been one of the problems this year is what they were doing the last 2 years. They were doing the smart things. Now they're not, and it's costing them. We've seen it this year in bunches when it shouldn't, and it's actually cost them a few games, which has also been a problem. But it seems like now they're starting to get out of it a little bit. I'm hoping guys like Scott Mayfield and Nikolai, they start to play a little bit better here and there. But yeah, it's something they definitely need to improve on.
My biggest issue is the awareness of the forwards in the defensive zone, like not getting back or losing your man. We've seen it with Barzal a couple of times. I just wrote a piece about Eberle because Eberle seems to be the only guy that does it perfectly right. He's always in the right spot. But even Lee and these bellows, guys that just completely just lose themselves a little bit. And then I don't get how, Barzal's been great. We've seen him play a lot better defensively where he's, stealing pucks and all that. But then there's times where it's laziness.
Yep. He can be lazy defensively.
It's tough to watch.
But you know what? That's exactly the same kind of thing that Trotz had to deal with Ovechkin, and after a long time, he finally bought in, and it got them to a Stanley Cup. So Barzal is Barzal. As much as we love him for his offense, and he's a superstar in that right, it's defense he's still got to work on, and he made it a point when he signed the contract this year that was going to be one of the things that he's worked on. and we've seen some of it. We've
Yeah,
seen better, but there's still time. There's still times where there's lapses, and you don't want that from your star player, but it's going to happen. It just can't keep happening on a consistent basis. Like even some of the goals from against the Penguins, those
exactly.
kind of things can't happen. I mean, they just can't. You're up 2-1 on Saturday, and you just got the lead, and then you have four guys just lose one guy, and that guy was Mike Matheson, who that's the last guy you want to see with the puck, and it leads to a
Yeah.
goal. You can't have that, especially if you're Barzell. You just can't.
First goal is a Penguin as well. But, a year ago today, the Islanders get Pajot. How did you feel on this day last year when they made that trade and then the extension to follow?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a terrific move. He was the one guy that everyone kept saying, "This is the guy they need. This is the guy they need," and they got him. And they got him for. I mean, people could call out the price, but the Islanders they won the trade. The draft picks are draft picks, like Barry Trotz said last year, and he would probably say today. Those picks they're lottery tickets. Who knows what could happen? But the Islanders got a player they desperately needed. He added another dynamic to the lineup. We saw it in the playoffs. He was probably one of the best players they had in the playoffs. And yeah, did he have a slow start to this year? Sure, but now he's starting to climb little by little. He's starting to find his scoring touch, and you can see he's just a guy that is loved in the locker room, and he's a presence. And he brings a little bit of more. He brings some what I think Barry likes is grit. He brings a little bit of grit. He brings a little bit of spit, and I think that's why the trade worked, and that's why I was very happy when they got him last year.
And I know pinned to your profile on Twitter is Pajot making Brian Boyle flinch. And that's the grit you're talking about. He will fight. He doesn't care. His size means absolutely nothing to him.
That's the personality, and that's kind of what the team probably was missing a little bit last year in a way. And the fact that they now have him, the way that we're seeing it now, where he's doing it again this year and getting under other teams' skin, that's what you got. Like, wants to be a pain in the ass to play with. I'm more than happy to watch it.
Yeah, and before Brendan gets to it, the last year was a problem because the Islanders' fourth line was all out, so they needed that grit from somebody else.
The whole bottom six last year was invisible.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. There's no other way around it. I think they're getting a lot. They're getting some better production this year, and I think because they added the youth, they added some infusion of youth. I also think the fourth line has found themselves again after I don't know what the hell was wrong with them to start the season. They look like they were dead in the water, and then that break just everything clicked. And now you're seeing Matt Martin scoring goals, you're seeing Casey Cizikas. I don't know what happened on that shift. What happened in that second period on Monday that he only played like 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That kind of that befuddled me, and I think it befuddled a lot of people. But no, I think they're getting contributions now from the guys they need to get it from.
Yep. So do you think it's smart to get Sorokin into more games on a regular basis to preserve Varlamov, or do you think that they're just going to ride the hot hand here?
I think Barry's going to ride the hot hand. We've seen it now. I think Sorokin will get. I said it on a podcast I think a few weeks ago. Sorokin will get his starts. It's going to come. But the way Varlamov is playing, he's playing like a Vezina-worthy goalie right now, and it's hard to not want to put him back in there. Has he had some one or two clunkers? Sure, but overall he's been fantastic, and the team is winning in front of him, and the team is playing well in front of him. Are there times where he's had to save their bacon? Sure, and that's going to happen too with Sorokin as well. But you got to ride the hot hand right now, and to preserve him for the playoffs it's a tough argument because it's only a 56 game season, and who knows what other COVID stuff is going to happen over the next 2 or 3 months, and the Islanders can get another break, or you can have even a more fresh Varlamov, and same thing goes with Sorokin. But I think Varlamov is the guy right now, and I think Sorokin will have to pry him out of the net for him to get the starts, but he'll get his. I think Barry said you'll see Sorokin this weekend, so that's just how it has to be right now, and I don't think it's a problem. I think if the Islanders are winning, whoever is in net, that's the guy you go with.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that point too. Doesn't matter that he's playing to a Vezina level. The team's winning in front of him. More often than not, they're putting together better efforts, and when they don't, he's there to bail them out.
It seems like the playoffs were like kind of his welcoming out party. Like he really, really showed in the playoffs why Lou Lamoriello decided to go after him and why he was really Plan A as opposed to signing Robin Leonard. Which, look, if Leonard was still here, that'd be great. Fans would love it. I think everyone. But Varlamov has showed he's exactly the guy that the Islanders thought they were going to be getting, and he's continued to get better and better.
And we think he helped Sorokin get here and make that decision, which will pay off for the franchise for the long run. But another question for you is, looking at this Islander team this year, what has been the biggest surprise? And it could be positive or negative.
Right now, it's the power play, but because it seems like they finally found one. But I
Simple.
got to
Keep
go.
it simple.
Yeah, but I got to go with Jordan Eberle. He's been terrific so far this season. I loved his game so far. He's being a little bit. He's being more aggressive. He's skating with a purpose now. He's not show. Last year he looked a little bit lost. I always pointed out in the beginning of the season last year, he got hurt early on and he missed 10 games. And during that 10-game stretch, the Islanders really, really started to turn it on. It was part of their 17-game point streak. Yeah. And when he came back, he never seemed to get back in the flow. Since the start of this season, he looks like a more determined player, the kind of guy that the Islanders needed last year and in the playoffs too. He only had 2 goals in the playoffs last year. That's not gonna cut it, especially for the guy with his contract and what he brings to the table. So Eberle has really surprised me. I really like his game this year. I'm hoping if he can get to let's say 15, 20 goals, I think that's a fantastic season. And also he had something to prove. The expansion draft is right around the corner, and he's one of the prime guys that's been talked about. How can you not want him to play like he is this year, like a bat out of hell, and not want to keep him? He's playing for his job, and I think he's shown that he wants to keep it and he wants to be here.
Yeah, so when he got moved, I think the big difference this year too is he did start off better. When he got moved from the first line to the second line, he woke up, and I think it's because when he's on the top line, Barzal is the creator, and he just has to wait for Barzal to dish to him. Whereas when he's on the second line, he has to be the one creating stuff because again, Bavilier was hurt, and then feed Nelson and all that stuff. So I think that Eberle just had a different role in the second line, and it just jolted him. And we see him skating harder, doing everything more offensively driven. And I think it was great for him. And now back on the top line, he's still bringing that game.
No, I totally agree.
Yep. So when you look at this team right now, do you think that Lou Lamoriello will stay pat at the deadline, or do you think he's going to be aggressive, make a couple of moves?
I think it's going to be very, very hard for them to make moves, especially with the whole salary cap situation. And it doesn't seem like it's in the cards. If Lou can pull off a big time trade and even get another forward who can score goals, I think it'd be a miracle. I think this is the team that they're stuck with right now. I don't know. I think he can make a move. The teams that who would want to trade with the Islanders, they're going to try and steal anything of value. And that can mean draft picks, that can mean high-end prospects, which the Islanders don't have that many, according to a lot of people, which is kind of true. But I can't see them making a trade unless it just completely blows Lou out of the water and the whole brass. I give it 15% chance. And that's high. That's a high number.
Yeah. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure talking hockey with you, and we'll definitely have you on again. Oh, we lost him.
Oh, no, I'm still here. I was
we're good.
To ask a Ranger question because I was a Ranger fan.
No, we know that you're Islanders, so I've had enough Rangers drama for the last.
I'll just say this:
24 hours.
Quinn is the right coach, but you have some guys on that team that I think that just they're not awake, and especially Mika Zibanejad. He's not awake right now.
And you don't think that has anything to do with coaching?
I don't, because he's kind of like a coach. He's kind of has that. He's a captain-like guy, and captain-like guys are kind of like coaches on the ice themselves.
Correct.
Where they're leaders and they guide their teammates. But the whole Panarin situation, I think that I don't know how that's going to play out. When he comes back, maybe he'll throw up 30 goals in, I don't know, 30 or so games. Who knows? But I think there's a lot of guys on your team that need to step up. And Zibanejad's one, Brian Strom's another. I mean, they pay these guys to be producers, and right now they're not. They're banking on Pavel Buchnevich, who's I think been having a sensational year, and I think he's really starting to come into his own. But I'm worried about that defense. I've always been worried about the Rangers defense. Everyone talks about they have guys coming in the pipeline, the Nils Lundqvist, the Keandre Millers, who's here now. They need to find the right balance. They really do. Because I think that was their bugaboo last year, especially in the playoffs, because they looked overmatched in the playoffs.
Oh,
And
they
I think
were.
they've looked overmatched at times this year. I mean, there's been some games where they should have won, and their defense and the goaltending. And I'm not going to throw it all on Shesterkin and Gorgiev. They need to be better too. But that defense is really their major problem here.
See, the one thing I will say to that is that early on in the season, it was goaltending. They were letting in the soft goal. Shesterkin hasn't done that recently. This Rangers team now all of a sudden sits top 7 in the league in goals against average. They're not allowing as many shots as they did last year, solidified primarily by Jacques Martin. And I think that what's happening now is with the injuries, they're starting to get a little more chances in their own end. But they've held the fort. They really haven't. They let the Capitals team only scored 1 goal against them. The Flyers only scored 2. They've actually done a pretty solid job defensively. It just hasn't been the prettiest style of defense. But I do think that when Miller comes back, he's on COVID protocol now. You have your top 3 of the future. Then Lundqvist comes over. Then you have Zach Jones at UMass coming over. You have Tarmo Rinainen, who's sitting in the AHL right now. They do have enough. And you still have Trouba for another 6 years, which that's going to be tough for.
I never liked that contract. I thought that was insane.
It was too much, but
watching what Neil Pionk is doing now in Winnipeg, I'm not going to say that he's better or like been above Trouba in terms of like production, but I think Pionk he was younger. He's a younger guy, and I think that trade might really come back to hurt them in the long run.
It will, but I think they made it because you have Fox, you have Lindgren, you have these smaller type of offensive defensemen already. You can't really have another one there.
Yeah, Lindgren has had a quiet year so far. After what I thought was a terrific, fantastic year last year. But I know Fox is holding on for it. He's phenomenal. He's gonna be an insane player. Maybe even Norris Trophy worthy. But I get where you're coming from with the defense. They got guys in the pipeline, but now is the time to really. I mean, you're not a rebuild anymore. This is. I mean, I don't know if you would agree with that.
I think it's the last year.
Maybe, but
because like you had said earlier, it is Loft's first year. You got Kakko in his second. You got Miller in his first. Like there's still, it's an awkward phase.
I mean, they generated enough offensive talent to where. It shouldn't be in a rebuild anymore. I don't think so. You've got a lot of offensive firepower, and you've got pieces of your defense and your goaltending all set. So, maybe I agree with you a little bit that they are in the last year to rebuild, but I think that they've been way past what they should have been at this point.
I agree with Rob because the big concern was the defense coming into this year. And early on, it's the rookies were playing, the younger guys are playing great. It was the veterans that are killing you. And in a rebuild, it's usually the other way around where they're learning curves.
Well, in fairness, they put Jack Johnson in the lineup for the first 5 games. That
fair,
hurts.
but your veteran offenseman players haven't been doing much. So it's hard for the young guys to look at that and go, all right, trying to build when those players aren't helping either. So,
well, you look at their. Oops, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I don't think you guys have a fourth line that can.
No.
Not like the Islanders.
Damage.
No, they don't have a fourth line. They have people that rotate into a fourth line spot, but that's about it.
You need 4 lines rolling to win in this league.
I've said that. I completely agree with that. But the thing that I could prove why the Rangers defense is better is because when Jack Johnson started this season, they were about 74% on the PK. They take him out because he got hurt. All of a sudden, they're number 4, I think, in the league in penalty kill. So if he doesn't play those 5 games to start this season, you're looking at a very good defensive team. But now he's on the second pairing with Brendan Smith because Keandre Miller's on COVID protocol. So God bless.
Make a good point. All
right, but Rob, thank you very much for joining us. We really do appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thanks.
See ya. Have a good